This is an exciting time in the life of our pastor, Ralph Douglas West. This year, PASS will celebrate 40 years of preaching. To commemorate this milestone, we will celebrate his life and legacy of preaching on all campuses August 9th.
Now let's take a look at one of those classic preaching moments.
Watch it now. Hands out. Verbally worship. Kneel down at the altar. And blood of the sacrifice is on the altar. I got to put a pin right there, because real worship is sacrifice. And sacrifice is bloody work. Wherever there is a sacrifice, it costs you something. And real worship is going to cost you something. While worshiping on his knees, the Bible says that birds of prey began to circle around his head to come and pick the carcass off of his altar. Let me show you something. That number one, when you look at the birds of prey, it usually symbolizes demonic activity. What I believe we ought to draw from this today is that there are times in worship where we bring our best sacrifice, our best song, our best sermon, our best prayer, our best Bible study, our best hope, our best faith. And while we're at the altar worshiping God, there are birds of prey, demonic activity circling around the altar, trying to swoop down and pick our sacrifice. Oh, come here for a minute. That whenever you're trying to give the best of what you got, there's always an enemy that's trying to pick at your house, pick at your husband, pick at your wife, pick at your church, pick at your money, pick at your health. So the day when you worship, don't just sit down with your hands lifted. Move from worship to warfare. On his knees. There he is, worshiping. I want you to see it now. On his knees, worshiping. He hear the birds. The birds trying to swoop down and get his sacrifice. And this is what David started. This is what Abraham started doing. I just said something right there. Watch it again. Birds trying to take what belongs to God. And while they're swooping down, Abraham, watch it. Worship is warfare. Yes, it is. Because sometimes when you are at the altar of God and you ain't able to say nothing else, you ought to learn the postures of worship. And one of the postures ought to be wave your hand so that when the enemy comes upon you, did you hear what I said? You can learn how to wave them off. I got to close now, but that's what somebody in here needs to do. When the enemy tries to take your offering, when the enemy tries to steal your sacrifice, you ought to learn how, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're mad at the preacher, even when you're mad at God and mad at yourself, learn how to get on your knees and fight the enemy from your knees. Did you hear what I said? Get a posture and just wave your hand.